we finished some meditation. How do you feel? What did you think about that?
It was really interesting. I never felt my heartbeat in so many places in my body before. So like at some point I was literally like, okay, this heartbeat thing is everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, crazy. Wow, I'm like super surprised, to be honest.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where we shouldn't be surprised, because obviously the heart has to get the blood everywhere. But until we sometimes until we're just like, okay, actually listen for that, like really, okay, I guess it's there. I know when I tried this for the first
Yes.
time, I was like, oh, whoa, okay. And
Amazing.
you feel like, wow, this might, why am I not distracted by my heartbeat all the time? If everywhere is
Yes,
like, boom,
exactly.
boom.
Oh my
Well, I'm
gosh.
glad you enjoyed it. And this is just like really important for breath work, because breath work is so experiential. Like there's a lot of science that backs up its benefits, but if you don't feel it, if you don't really experience it, and it's kind of hard to really continue it, I think. And so I know a
Yeah.
lot of times, or like for instance, early on in my practice, I didn't really feel it, and so I just, well, okay, it's okay. So that's just a little practice, a little exercise to get more into the body and out of our thoughts.
Yes, awesome. That's I think that's actually very useful for people that do want to indeed kind of draw this lines of relaxation and work and being in this fight or flight state, and then change and shift their state easily and fast, because that was the surprise for me. Because before we started recording this interview today, I had so many things to do.
Oh
It's
yeah.
the late evening now for me. It's 6:30 p.m. and I had so many things to go through today, and work, phone calls, whatever, sending angry emails to the suppliers or whatever, and things like that. And yeah, and then this calmed me down completely. It's crazy. Yeah.
Awesome, awesome. Well, let's talk about some techniques. So breath work is based off of, and in our last talk, we talked a little bit about how breath work is based off of what we call that Rosetta Stone. So, okay, our physiology is based off of our state, most of it, when it comes to, okay, what is our hormonal profile? Where is our blood flow going to? How does our body basically, how capable are we of rest? How capable are we of activity? And again, this is one of those things where my school of thought, and the way that I teach it, and I call it the language of breath, because I believe that instead of control, right, we need to look at our physiology as a partnership. And so in the meditation we did, hopefully you envisioned the smiling face that I'm seeing right now, and I always think about a big old cheesy bearded Jesse, and just like, okay, because part of us is that not the intellectual part of us, but there's another part of us that's just really trying to help us survive, and really dependent on our senses for cues. And I talk about this in my book. Our internal self, that unconscious self, isn't aware of cell phones or of modern advancements. It's kind of primitive. It's looking at it from a evolutionary standpoint. So it can put us into these states and keep us there because, wow, we're really stressed out. That must be dangerous. And
Yeah.
what we have is we're always in that fight or flight state. And I remember you were just saying how, you'll get into a rhythm with work, and I do the same thing. And this is my job. I'm a breath worker, and you get a lot of appointments, and you start being like, wow, how am I going to make all this work?
Yeah.
And so here I'm going to teach you a few techniques that I teach to, in many cases, military police officers, people that are in what we might consider life and death situations. And the funny thing is, I also teach it to CEOs. So it's it's funny how our brains can perceive a situation as life and death, even if it really isn't.
Yeah,
You know?
it definitely makes sense, and for CEOs, and especially now NMN Bio is like a rapidly growing company. It's crazy how fast it's growing, and it's literally making like it's growing every month. Like every month is a new all-time high, basically. So it's it can be quite challenging, and now instead of booking out days in my calendar for certain tasks, I'm at a stage where I'm actually like booking out a week, and I'm even telling my friends, and I'm like, you know what, I'm going into monk mode this week. Don't expect to hear
Mode, I
from
like
me.
that.
Replying to WhatsApp messages. I'm so sorry, but like I'm super busy right now. Please don't be mad at me, but I won't be replying to messages this week, like literally a week, because it's like there's so many things that basically I have to deal with while the company is scaling. And unfortunately fortunately for her, so my assistant is pregnant at the moment. So she's going into maternity leave at the end of March. And this means that I need to hire a new person now. And then with all this growth, I actually realized that, you know what, I need to hire 2 people. So
well,
it's
true. It's true. I hear you, because these are, I always say I'm getting blessed so hard because it's good, right? It's good, but it really does take its toll. And so many of my clients that I have one-on-one client relationships with are in a similar situation where it's like, wow, I never thought I would be so successful. But it's driving me crazy. And I have my relationship with my spouse that I want to make sure I'm showing up for my kids and I'm in a good mood. And so here are a few things that what's interesting. Whether you're heading into a combat situation, whether you're heading into the boardroom, or whether you're trying to go to sleep in your bed and it's just like, there's a few things we can do. And this is the stuff that I explain in great detail in the Language of Breath program. And then we actually cover some of these things too, also in our longevity program. But here are some techniques that a person can apply pretty quickly. And one of them is very, very simple. And it has to do with taking a deep breath, not necessarily a big breath, but a deep breath. So we're going to pull the breath down into, basically, if you think of your pelvis, we're going to pull it down into the pelvis. So that's kind of where we're shooting for. And a lot of times we talk about belly breathing, like our belly is supposed to go out, and it will, but don't focus so much on that. Just bring it down into the pelvis. And you can take a nice big breath if you want to. And then what we're going to do is we're going to lengthen our exhale. And I'll show you what this is going to look like. So it's basically just like this. So and we're trying to make the exhale go as long as we can without, making it uncomfortable. We're not trying to go like pushing it all out, but just relaxing it out as long as we can. And so what we'll do is we'll kind of go back into that meditation, not deep into the meditation, but we're going to try to kind of maybe feel the heartbeat. And what you can sometimes see is if you have like a heart rate monitor, doing this, doing this technique a lot of times you'll actually see your heart rate go down as you're doing this. So let's just try this together, and I'll guide you through. Kind of, there we go, get nice and comfy, and just close your eyes. And again, just take a little scan of your body. We don't have to go into great depth. Maybe try to detect that heartbeat in maybe a part of your body, any part you'd like. Maybe you just think about your heart, where your heart actually is. And if you bring your awareness to that place, you should be able to feel your heart. If you really quiet down, listen. And what we're going to do together, we'll take a nice deep breath. And don't worry about how long, just make it nice and long as you can, comfortably and relaxed, exhale. So here we go. Let's take a deep breath in, all the way down. You can fill all the way up and just exhale nice and slow through the mouth. And you can breathe this way. For as long as you like. We'll take a third one together. And the more relaxed you get, it'll be interesting because the more lengthy we can make that exhale. And so just 3 breaths, just 3 breaths. And we already start to notice a little bit of a change, you know. Yeah. Now, if you're really, really stressed, you might need more than just 3 breaths. But what we're doing is we're using the language of the breath, using the language that is our physiology, and saying, okay, here's what I want to send. And it goes back to the autonomic nervous system. And I always talk about it being the Rosetta Stone, because if you look at the functions that the autonomic nervous system is going to do, when you are excited, when you're stressed, you're breathing fast, right? And so if we want to down-regulate, if we want to relax, we want to reduce that speed. So we're trying to relax it out and just make it so that it is as slow as possible. Now we're also, let me see here, bear with me, I'm going to change the view here. But we're also trying to lengthen the exhale because we've got this, this 10th cranial nerve called the vagus nerve. And you know all about this, but it's one of those, it's connected to pretty much every organ in our body. And what happens is, it's interesting because we always think about the brain being this really, I'm telling you all what to do, but the vagus nerve sends more signals to the brain than the brain will send through the vagus nerve to the organs. And what we're doing by lengthening the breath, we're stimulating that vagus nerve, relaxing ourselves. And what's really interesting, there's a movie that came out called 1917. I don't know if you've seen it. I'm a war movie buff.
Oh yeah, it's like a war movie.
Yeah.
That was recorded in one shot, or you know, it's supposed to have this effect. I watched it. Yes, it was pretty cool.
Yeah, and there's a scene in it. I was watching it, and there's this scene where a soldier does this very technique. And so and I was like, oh, I know that move. And so he goes, of course, he did a little faster because he was in a combat situation. But
yeah.
And then he was able to calm down. So this is a very simple one, something that we can take with us wherever we go. And you don't have to count out any seconds or any kind of a thing. Did you notice any change?
Definitely. I feel much more calmer. I feel more focused as well. And I feel more grounded. So nice. I definitely feel more present in my surroundings, basically. It's really, really interesting. And I can see that my first thought on this was, I wish I would have learned this technique this morning because I had a very stressful day. And I can see how doing this during a stressful day can actually help me, you know, be more grounded and actually focus more. Because when you're having this fight or flight response for several hours and then you want to do concentrated work, it's actually hard. So for example, if I want to do my admin work first, if I want to call my suppliers and, you know, have my my fight with my marketing team and whatever, and then I want to do scientific readings, it's actually very hard for me to get back into the focus mode, and then I end up not doing it. And then I'm like, you know what, I'm just gonna try it tomorrow morning when I wake up and I have a clear head again. But if I can do this during the day, I think this can actually help me a lot. And I can definitely see how this could be of help for, you know, directors, CEOs, business owners, for sure.
something really simple, and it's something you can do and get a pretty quick response. And for those of you guys watching at home, this is one of those techniques that, you know, we just did 3 breaths and we noticed a change. But if you don't notice a complete change in 3 or 4 breaths, you can literally just, you can do this as long as you want. It's something that typically people will do for maybe 2 minutes, 5 minutes. And the body sometimes takes about 2 to 5 minutes to really see a strong change. But yeah, sometimes something as simple as 1 or 2 breaths can make a change. So
Yeah.
we're going to come back next week, and I'm going to show you one more technique that I think you're really going to love. And it's super, super powerful, and it's a lot of fun. So everybody, thank you for watching. We will see you next week with another technique. Hey everybody, this was a part of my ongoing conversations with Dr. Seranova. If you're interested in learning more, please take a look at the links below. And also remember, there is a discount code there if you'd like to order some of NMN from NMN Bio. That is her company. So hope you enjoyed this video. Look for more to come.